Thank you, my friends. It is good to see you and have you here on this ancient land of the Duwamish people. It's important that we recognize the hard work of the people that are being done here today. And so when we do this, we like to say thank you. This one simple word, this is what I ask people to remember when they're talking to us as Indigenous people. And so for our Lakota Sioux, I say Pila Maya. Pila Maya Tuadagwehe Koyal. Pila Maya. For Tlingit, neighbors to the north in Alaska, we say Gunolchish. Our Haida Gwaii, Hawa, Simpson, Deutschkam, Nuchanal, Tleiko, Lummi, Saanich, Heiskasiam. Here, our Suquamish, our Duwamish, our Snoqualmie, our Muckleshoot and Puyallup, we say Qui. That's Kodidis Justice, Yaya Tuadagwehe, Koyayu, Sadisha Padas Lahel. For our friends on the Columbia River, we say Hayo Masi. So we recognize all the work that's being done here today. My name is Workman. I am Yayustab Zata Doabs. I am Workman of the Duwamish tribe. And great-great-great-great-grandson of Chief Seattle. And just as my father stood on the shores just a few miles away from here just yesterday, well, maybe a century and a half or so. And he said, bring your canoe ashore. Bring your canoe ashore. You are welcome here onto this land of the ancient ones. We continue to do that today. And we continue to say thank you for the work that you are doing here. And so our word for welcome, for invite, is gui. And so I say gui, siaya. Welcome, my friend. Hey, go no shish. But there's more. There's a whole canoe of you here today. So we say, recognizing that people from all around the world are here in this city that's named after my grandfather. So we as Duwamish people continue to do that today. And so we say, Hey, Wilhat. Hey, Wilhat. Go in a good way. Have fun. Thank you. It's important that we recognize the hard work of the people around us, and that we recognize that on these grounds, this Skoiswatufted, Mother Earth, that we are all one. that on these hills for thousands and thousands of years the Duwamish people have been living and dying and going down into the ground and coming back up into the trees. The very trees that are used to build the foundation of this city. The very trees that are in the older buildings here. Our people are in the plants and the berries and the food. And so we recognize the good work that our ancestors, our grandmothers and our grandfathers are doing even today. By providing us with food, with our substance, our nourishment. We recognize the good work that our cooks are doing behind the scenes who are seldom recognized. And we say, for thanking my cooks, or the cooks, for their great work here today. And so we say, Creator. Look down, looking down on your children that have marched on these streets here in Seattle today. Look down upon them in a good way. Thank you, Lord, for all the stuff that you provide. For all the food that you provide. And thank you, grandmother and grandfather, and all the ancient ones that have passed that are down in the ground, and they provide us the substance that we take into our bodies today, so that we could walk on these streets here today, something we weren't allowed to do not so very long ago. And so we say, thank you, Lord, for all things. Hoi.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to Ken Workman. Can we give one more round of applause for Ken Workman? Ken Workman. Ladies and gentlemen, while lunch is being served, we're going to have our preschoolers come in from Daybreak Star and perform. They're getting ready to come out. These folks have been practicing for a very long time to get this right for you, so please give them your undivided attention. They're coming. Here they come. You guys look great. Hi, how are you? Hey there. What's going on? Hey, you're famous now.
Make an announcement about the gathering at Daybreak Star, please, tonight.
Okay. There's also a gathering at Daybreak Star tonight. The doors open at 4 p.m. along with the City Hall activities from 5 to 7. The dinner is 5 to 7. But show up at 4 so you can get your seat before Deo does. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, I promise.
we say, yay, Daybreak Star! Daybreak Star! We're going to be coming out this way.
Thank you very much to our Daybreak Star preschool class. One more round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for these wonderful children. Public speaking is very hard to do. These children perform for you. Thank you so much for the time and effort you put in. At this time, I would like to introduce the Interim Director for the Seattle Office for Civil Rights, MARIKO LOCKHART. Please come forward. MARIKO LOCKHART. MARIKO LOCKHART. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know if it's morning or afternoon. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to everyone here. This is such a beautiful, exciting occasion and so important. Okay, got it. This is such an important occasion to raise up and acknowledge and honor our Native communities and culture. And it's so aligned with the Office for Civil Rights vision, transforming this day into a day that honors Native people is consistent with what we stand for. Our vision is of a city of liberated people where communities historically impacted by racism, oppression, and colonialism can thrive and hold power. I'm proud that the Office for Civil Rights has been staffing and coordinating this effort along with the organizing committee. And I'd like to give thanks to all of those and our partners who made this day possible. I'm really pleased to be here to introduce our Deputy Mayor, David Moseley, who brings remarks from our mayor, who couldn't be here today, but I know that David will bring her message and all of our heartfelt gratitude for everyone making this day possible and for this beautiful celebration. David.
Thank you very much, MARIKO. I want to thank MARIKO for this kind introduction. I also want to thank Elder Ken WORKMAN for his comments and prayers for us this morning. I've had the opportunity to share the stage with Mr. WORKMAN now on several occasions over the last several months, and it's always an honor to be with Mr. WORKMAN. I also want to thank the Daybreak Star preschool class, the beautiful children of the class, for being here with us today. On behalf of Mayor Jenny Durkin, I would also like to thank each and every one of you for being here to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day here in the city of Seattle. In Seattle, we know that without the lasting contributions that Indigenous people have made and continue to make to our community, we would not be the innovative and vibrant city that we are today. As many of you know, we are the only major city in the United States named after a Native American leader. The city of Seattle, the city of Seattle is named after, of course, a great chief, the chief self of the Duwamish and Suquamish tribes. On Indigenous Peoples Day and every day, we celebrate that important legacy and we cherish it. Again, thank you for being here, and I will now turn the program back over to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to MARIKO LOCKHART and Deputy Mayor David Moseley. At this time, I would like to start introducing some of the council members instrumental in putting this event together and helping out get this together. Councilmember Lisa Herbold and Councilmember Kashama Sawant, please. At this time, I'd like to thank our sponsors as well. The City of Seattle Native Employees, or CANUES for short. United Indians of All Tribes Foundation, the Seattle City Council, the Seattle Public Library, Seattle Human Rights Commission, the Seattle Office for Civil Rights, Seattle Human Services, Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, the Seattle Public Utilities, the the King County Native American Leadership Council, and PTE 17. I'd like to thank them for sponsoring and give them a round of applause for helping us put this event together. You guys look great, by the way. Roach. My name is Wesley B. Roach. I'm sorry I did not introduce myself earlier. I come from the Lakota Nation, the Dakota Nation, as well as I share some ancestry with some German, French, and English folks from Europe as well. I'm happy to be here today and help MC and be the master of ceremony today for this event. And now that we are ready to get rocking and rolling, I hope you're getting some food in your system. But at this time, I would really like to introduce Lisa Herbold, the council member Lisa Herbold, and council member Kashama Suwan at this time. Thank you for being here. Yes. Council member Lisa Herbold, who will go first.
Greetings and welcome. Hello, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you today as Seattle celebrates its 5th Annual Indigenous Peoples Day. I'd like to first acknowledge that we are here today together on Duwamish land. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that the city has been working on as it relates to some of the critical and disturbing disparities in the way that we care for our Indigenous neighbors in this city. According to the most recent National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, Native and Indigenous women experience the highest rate of violence of any population. Nearly 85% of American Indian and Alaska Native women have experienced violence in their lifetime. And this includes 56% who have experienced sexual violence, 56% who have experienced physical violence by an intimate partner, 49% who have experienced stalking, and 66% who have experienced other forms of domestic violence. Overall, more than 1.5 million Native, Indian, and Alaska Native women have experienced violence in their lifetime. At a time where we're really focused on issues related to sexual violence and gender violence, it's really important that we focus on the greatest disparities, the folks who are most experiencing these atrocities in our community. These rates of violence are unacceptable. As allies to Native communities, we must all fight to ensure that Native communities have the sovereignty and resources to support their own communities. Also, as it relates to homelessness, we know that here in our city, Seattle, American Indians and Alaska Natives experience homelessness at higher rates than many other communities. Our city is beginning to make strides in supporting our Native and Indigenous people who are experiencing homelessness. Last week, the Seattle Human Services Department presented on the first 6 months of our homelessness system performance investments. So far, in 2018, we've seen an increase both in the number and the rate at which Native American and/or Alaska Natives are entering housing, and that is moving from being unsheltered to moving into permanent housing. We're really hoping that with strategic investments and thoughtful partnerships with Native communities, we will continue to decrease the disproportionate rates of homelessness experienced by Native communities. And we've really only been able to make those improvements over the last year because of those partnerships, because the city is focusing its efforts to funding our social service providers that work with Native communities that have these lived experiences, and funding those partnerships so they can interact and engage and do outreach to those communities and make those connections with permanent housing. We know there's so much more to do, both to address homelessness and address gender-based violence in our city. Earlier this year, the council passed a bill extending the statute of limitations on sexual harassment claims, passed by the Office of Civil Rights. My hope that this bill will help to provide an additional tool for people who are experiencing all forms of harassment, and again, as I mentioned earlier, especially in light of the Me Too and Time's Up and the Seattle Silence Breakers movement. Finally, in closing, I just want to say that we know that American Indian and Alaska Native peoples are more than just the violence they experience or the challenges they face in our communities. We have to draw on the strength and the resilience of the people who have had these experiences, and together we can move forward for a better city for all of us. We all as a city will only prosper when those who are most harmed by the past injustice of our country, of our local government, are addressed first. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today and for the opportunity to experience, again, the deep resilience and strength of our Seattle Native and Indigenous people. Thank you.
Thank you again to Councilman Lisa Aribold. I would like to introduce to you another member of the council who was instrumental in putting this event together, or this day together, and passing the resolution for Seattle. Please put your hands together for Councilman Kashama Suwant. Council member, sir.
Sisters, brothers, siblings, happy Indigenous Peoples Day to everybody. Some of you may have heard me, those of you who were there at the rainy rally at Westlake, so I apologize if you're hearing this for the second time, but I know that the inspiring message cannot be repeated often enough, so I'm really honored to be able to stand with you again here at City Hall. I wanted to thank the Duwamish people and all the original inhabitants of the Puget Sound region. 4 years ago, around this time, 4 years ago in 2014, which was my first year in office as an elected representative of Seattle's working people and as the first socialist city council member in nearly 100 years. It was my honor and the honor of all socialists to be able to fight alongside Matt Remley and many other Indigenous activists who wanted to end Columbus Day and replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day. I want us to remember how this struggle came about, not only because it is nice and warm to reminisce about how we came here, but also it is important that we share the lessons that we learned along the way to everybody with everybody in the movement. It was not easy to get Indigenous Peoples Day passed. If you ask Indigenous activists, they will tell you that they had come to City Hall year after year trying to get Indigenous Peoples Day to be passed, and those pleas fell on deaf ears because most of the City Council has been dominated by corporate politicians for whom this was not only not a priority, but for whom it is a questionable thing. Do we want to empower people at the bottom because they will not stop? When people at the bottom feel empowered, we are not going to stop with one victory. We're going to keep demanding a city that is free of inequality, racism, sexism, and poverty. And that is why the Indigenous Peoples Day victory is so important to me personally alongside you, not only as a socialist, not only as an elected representative, but also, as I shared with some of you this morning, I come from India. I'm the other kind of Indian. But the common thread that runs between you all and my people is that we were both colonized by the imperialists. And that even today, The fight against imperialism and capitalism is an international and global fight. So we stand in solidarity with oppressed people throughout the world. Shannon Morrison, who spoke at the People's Budget Rally this Friday, said that it is important to have Indigenous Peoples Day celebrated every year because it is a real action on race and social justice. And that is why we are fed up. We are fed up with the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day being nickel and dimed every year, and for the community to have to come to City Hall and ask for a little bit of money to be able to carry out the celebration. That is why, my friends, I appeal to you all to join me in the people's budget struggle so that we can win permanent funding for Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. And look at how modest our demand is. All we are demanding is $25,000 so that we can put the celebration together every year. And that is a drop in the bucket of the city's nearly $6 billion budget. And through our celebration, let us also call attention to the deeply unequal city and the deeply unequal budget that we are being handed down, where we have billions of dollars for big business and the police department and very, very little for affordable housing to address homelessness and to address racism and sexual violence. I draw courage from the leadership of the Indigenous community on so many battlefronts. We have stood courageously against big oil and the fossil fuel bosses at Standing Rock against the Dakota Access Pipeline. And our siblings are right now fighting on the front lines against the Kinder Morgan pipeline in Canada. We fought for Wells Fargo divestment, and we are taking the struggle forward to have a public bank in Seattle. But we are also, as Councilmember Herbold said, we are also fighting against systematic sexual violence, sexual harassment, and workplace harassment, which we know is pervasive. We, as women, people of color, and the marginalized, as working class people, face oppression every day. And it is thanks to ordinary people like ourselves, women who have been on the front lines of the Me Too collective struggle, that this is now finally seeing the light of day. Congratulations. Congratulations to everyone who fought bravely against Brett Kavanaugh's nomination. We did not win that fight, but it is far from over, am I right? Now that we have a Supreme Court that is conservative and that is going to engage in attacks against women's rights, against reproductive rights and women's bodily autonomy, against the rights of workers, against environmental regulation, now that we know we face this, it is time to bring the Me Too struggle out into the streets. Let us build a united fight back against sexual violence, and let's stand with the missing and murdered Indigenous women who have courageously fought against this scourge in their community. But let us also fight to build a broad-based united struggle, because whether you're Indigenous, whether you're white, whether you're black or brown, all women face sexual violence. And let us stand together and let us bring people of all genders, working people of all genders who want to fight against inequality. And in the budget, in addition to fighting for Indigenous Peoples Day funding, I urge you all to also join the people's budget struggle to fight for an independently elected office with full funding for investigating all workplace harassment faced by Seattle's workers. Let us also demand that we have, not just for City of Seattle employees, but for all workers in Seattle, a real health care plan, Medicare for all, that will include the health care needs of all communities, including the trans community, but also make sure that there are rape kits and trained staff at every clinic around the city. But last but not least, my friends, we need to fight to end some of the biggest crises facing our communities, and that is the crisis of affordable housing and homelessness. It is really unfortunate that the majority of the City Council voted to repeal the Amazon tax that would have taxed biggest businesses in Seattle to fund hundreds of units of affordable housing every year. But let us not let the City Council off the hook. Let us use the people's budget struggle to fight for hundreds of units of affordable housing to be built every year so that the money is spent on addressing homelessness and inequality, not for SWAT teams and K-9 units in the Central District. That is why I appeal to you all, please join us in the people's budget struggle, and I wanted to throw out 2 dates for next steps for our struggle. One is we have a public hearing for the budget at City Hall right there in Chambers on October 23rd. Please join us there. And my staff are going around with leaflets and sign-up sheets. Please make sure you sign up so that we can keep in touch with you and build an ongoing struggle. But the other date I wanted to throw out was on October 30th in Tacoma. There will be a public hearing on LNG in 253. What is our message going to be at the public hearing? No LNG in 253. Nobody's saying no LNG. That's the spirit. So, dear friends, let us keep up the struggle. Let's continue the message of Indigenous Peoples Day throughout the year, year after year. And that message of Indigenous Peoples Day is that we, as working people of all races, genders, national origin, we will stand together to fight for a society that puts people over profit, the environment over the profit, and planet over profit. Solidarity.
Please keep in mind all the fights that are going on right now in Native country, whether it be Kinder Morgan Pipeline, LNG, and the 253. Please keep those fights in the forefront. We're getting ready to introduce some of our speakers today. Our next speaker is a descendant of African American, Mayan, Taino, and Apache ancestry. She leads a life of both purpose and calling with the knowledge from the cultures that she participates in. Her work is directly reflective of the power she yields as a young Indigenous woman. She has participated in the tribal canoe journey. She continues to participate in canoe journey for the last 6 years, now a skipper in training. She works closely with the Buffalo Field Campaign and sits on a board of a sustainable living nonprofit organization and works with Na'alahi Fund's Restorative Justice Program. She's a singer and a dancer in the community for Tlingit dance groups. And for the last 4 years, she is also a singer for Indigenous Sisters Resistance Drum Group. She is a youth leader and activist in the Northwest Native community and has traveled to Standing Rock as a water protector. She's a known artist in the community and has written and performed poetry and is also very, very great at her beadwork. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our youth speaker today, AIYANA Fuentes.
Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I said, Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I want to thank everyone who hears me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me come and share my knowledge, speak my truth. So I was mentored under the oh my bad. Whew. It's really hot in here. I'm sorry, I just got done marching and I'm sweaty from the rain. Who knew rain could make you sweat? The Old Growth Alliance, they're the reason we're here inside this city hall right now. Years ago, they took the streets. They didn't ask for permits. They didn't ask permission from the government. They took the streets. I've had the honor to be mentored by two of the original Old Growth Alliance. All that I know is from them. As I was marching, I remembered the feeling of my first Abolish Columbus Day march. The first time I stood up for something that I believed in. We are here because we are Indigenous. We are here because today is our day. Today is our day to celebrate. Today is not a day to celebrate a white colonizer that came and killed, murdered, raped, stole our children. That is not what today is about. Where I live, it is a very colonized area. I was one of 5 students of color in my whole middle school. I am still attending the high school there. Although when I went to science class this last week, the teacher looked at me, he said, how do I incorporate Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday? How do I incorporate the stories, the lessons, the knowledge of the people of this land? And I said, you do it by talking. You do it by speaking up. You do it by not sharing about Columbus on Indigenous Peoples Day. This year is for our youth. This year is for our youth. I am a youth of this generation. I see the power inside the youth, inside my peers, inside those who I march with. It is a powerful thing, this generation. We are taking back our language. We are taking back those that were stolen from us, our culture that was stolen from us. But the way we do it, the way we learn is from our older generations. So the 7 generations in front of us that fought, the 8 generations, the 9 generations, the 100 generations, our ancestors that fought for us to live, for us to fight this good fight, for us to fight for ourselves. When I saw the little ones up here singing, it made me want to cry because I saw our ancestors in them. Learning the songs, learning the language, it is a beautiful thing. And they don't just learn it because they have to. They learn it because they choose to. I have a little dance sister. She is like 13 now, and she can say her whole introduction in her native tongue. Her whole introduction of who she is, who her parents are, who her grandparents are, in her native language. That doesn't seem like such a big thing to the outside world, but it is a major thing. Because existing, standing here today as an Indigenous person is a show. It represents who we are, that we are resilient. We are strong, and we will continue to fight. No matter what is thrown in our way, no matter how many city officials, no matter how many police officers are in front of us. We will always fight for ourselves, for our people, for our ancestors, but most importantly for our youth. Our youth are the future. We will be nothing without our youth. We will know nothing without our youth. Our youth are our future elders. They will be the ones to teach your great-great-great-grandchildren. They will carry on the knowledge that you hold within yourselves. So when you share your knowledge with the youth, when you share your culture with the youth, when you share love with the youth, you are not just loving them, you are loving the 7 generations in front of them, the 14 generations in front of them, the 700 generations in front of them. Because in 700 years, no one will remember Columbus. They will remember this day as Indigenous Peoples Day. They will remember every day as Indigenous Peoples Day because we are here to stay. We are here to fight. We are here to rise. I raise my hands to the elders in the room because without you, I would not be a youth up here standing and speaking the knowledge I know. I raise my hand to the youth in the building. They're probably back there eating because I know I want to be. But I raise my hands to them because they are taking the reins. They are getting the baton that is being passed down to them from the older generations. And without them, we will be nothing. Without our youth, nothing will change. Without our youth, we will not rise. Our youth are our power. Our youth are our strength. We lift up our youth. We will always lift up our youth. Thank you. I raise my hands to you. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. I said, today is Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm gonna invite up a beautiful singing group that I am part of. It is called Indigenous Sisters Resistance, and they are going to lead us in a song called Indigenous Peoples Day Song. And as we sing this, stand up, cheer, dance, sing along. Whatever your ancestors are telling you to do, do it. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day!
Shuk Pachwai, Inknash Winiksha, Mariana Harvey, Washnash Yakma, Kanik. Good day, my name's Mariana Harvey. I'm a member of the Yakma Nation. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. It's good to be here on the unceded Coast Salish territories here in Seattle with my sisters. We're gonna share a few songs, and any sisters that wanna come up and sing with us, come up. We're known as the Indigenous Sisters Resistance, but really what that means is we're just a group of women that we just wanna sing. We sing in our living rooms, we share meals together, we sing on the front lines, we sing at powwows, we sing anytime we're together, just for that passion of just loving our native songs. This song that we're gonna sing is called the Indigenous Peoples Day Song. I grew up here in this city, and I love this city, I love the people of this city, and what I love most about this city is the Indigenous people of this city. You know, I was just in line with the woman that was talking, the two young dancers, if you were at the march earlier, they went to the schools that I went to, and we're talking about what kind of programs are in those schools. And what I love is all you people that serve our Indigenous people in this city. I was in middle school, and I was one of maybe 3 Native students, to my knowledge, in that school. In Huchusita, that program found me and tutored me. When I was in high school, I worked along with my sister, Kateri Joe, right over there. Kateri was the champion of changing the mascot at West Seattle High School. It's no longer Indians. And that happened because of you all, because of the community that stood behind us. And so it's from that love, that deep, deep love I have for all of you in this community, our Indigenous community and our allies, that this song comes from. It's called the Indigenous Peoples Day Song. The lyrics came to me on the way to the second one that we had in 2015. And yeah, Tawi Shamash, this is Indigenous Peoples Day.
one more song for you. It is called the Strong Woman Song. It comes out of a prison. Where's it from? If anybody wants to come and sing, all you ladies and your pretty singing voices, come stand in front. You know you want to. Hey!
I see all kinds of my sisters that I know. Could y'all, like, you ain't here observing, you guys are part of this. All my sisters. You know who I'm talking to. I see you. Even though we didn't sing it, please don't forget our missing and murdered Indigenous women. Please. Please.
Oh, thank you again. Thank you again to AIYANA Fuentes, to our Indigenous sisters, Resistance. Please give them another round of applause for their wonderful voice. Wopila, wopila to our Wiyans, to our women. Thank you so much. You give us life. Thank you so much, women. We're getting ready to get into our second speaker. Our second speaker today is an actress. She's a singer and a songwriter and an activist for environmental and social justice. She is performing internationally and across Canada since the age of 10. And she is from the Duwamish Nation, located on the west coast of British Columbia on Turtle Island. Without further ado, please welcome Takaya Blaney.
Hello. My name is Takaya Blaney. I'm 17 years old. I am a musician, activist, and water protector of mixed ancestry from the Duwamish Nation, which is located by Powell River, 100 miles north of Vancouver, BC. My ancestral name is Jagajimuch. Jagajimuch was a name that was given to me by my kukpa, my grandfather. Jagajimuch was a great leader who is commemorated through our oral history as just being adamant on fulfilling our sacred obligation to our lands and our waters and our non-human relatives to protect them for the next 7 generations to come. He used his power, he used his voice and his platform to defend that, and I do my best in the work that I do to honor that legacy, not only the legacy of Jagajimuch, but all of the ancestors whose shoulders that I stand upon, just bringing their teachings and their values forward. The work that I do is that of building bridges between those of us who are suffering at the hands of colonial epidemics, such as substance abuse, suicide, violence, and the medicine that inspires their healing. Whether that be more adequately funded education and health programs, or a revitalization of that which is ancient, connecting our youth and our elders, building a bridge between our youth and our elders, between our ancestors, who we are representing in every moment, and the future generations that we must always be living our lives in defense of. So, Indigenous peoples everywhere are experience violence as a result of the persisting legacy of colonialism. And in addition to this, we are the most vulnerable group to the impacts of climate change. We're always on the front lines. You know, in one part of the world, Indigenous people are experiencing violence as a result of resource extraction. In another part of the world, Indigenous people are experiencing the consequence or experiencing climate change as a result of these extractive industries. So this intersection between environmentalism and climate justice and uplifting Indigenous communities is a very important one, because despite our vulnerabilities, we are the most powerful agents in fighting for our climate future. So in my community, the impacts of climate change were witnessed by a single generation. the degradation of our environment was witnessed by a single generation. I grew up profoundly connected to a culture that I had never directly experienced. I heard about our traditions. I resonated with the stories that my elders told me about our relationship to the land, our relationship to our non-human relatives. But I never had the opportunity to experience that firsthand. Because of the disconnect as a result of different colonial institutions such as residential schools and the lasting impact of that, and also because of the industries that had been established in my territory that made it impossible for us to sustain ourselves, to survive off of our own lands. And so when I started getting involved with activism at a young age when I found out about the Northern Gateway Pipeline. The Northern Gateway Pipeline was a pipeline that was proposed by the Enbridge Corporation going from the tar sands of Alberta to Kitimat, BC. And it was this first time that it clicked that, you know, we still have to fight for who we are. We still have to fight to exist on our own lands. We still have to fight to be able to access our resources and have that relationship. And if I don't contribute and if I don't use my voice, you know, I'm idle and I'm passive in this like destruction of our mother Earth. And so I started thinking of the different ways in which I could contribute to this movement. I wasn't as confident speaking in public, but something that I cared a lot about was music. And so I ended up writing a song about the future of my coastline, of the waters that my ancestors traveled through and used this as highways if there were to be an oil spill. And I started going to rallies and conferences and singing my song, spreading my message. And since then, I've just been really inspired by just the amount of youth who are invested in this, the amount of youth who are just unapologetically, you know, reclaiming their power, claiming their strength, recognizing their ancestors, going to blockades, going to the front lines, you know, standing on everything that, standing on our traditional values. That's something that's been really beautiful and inspiring for me. Because, you know, because ultimately it is our youth here that are going to be making that difference. All of the youth that we see here, I'm grateful for these spaces. I'm grateful that that our youth are able to connect. Because you know it's difficult. It's difficult to be Indigenous. It's a heartbreaking experience. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain that each and every one of us inherits as a result of intergenerational trauma. And we all feel it every single day. And our youth, you know, our youth, if we don't have these cultural spaces, that's the only part of the Indigenous experience that they're going to have is the heartbreak and the pain. And being Indigenous is so much more than that. You know, you inherit so much strength. You're protected by your grandmother's prayers in every single moment, and that's powerful. That's powerful, and our youth need to know that, and I see them. I see them at the forefront of these movements, and it is so incredibly powerful. So incredibly powerful, because it's not just change that they're making for us as Indigenous people, but it's change that's being made for all people, you know. Our relationship with the land is what's going to save us. It's what's going to save all of us, you know. It's something that's been forgotten and suppressed and destroyed. This sacred relationship that we have with our water and with our land, because it doesn't make money, you know. It has no value in this Western world, and it's, you know, it's the teachings that we as Indigenous people hold that are gonna counteract that, that are gonna, you know, because we need to relearn what it is to live on these lands, what it is to love these lands. You know, it's something that we've forgotten, or Western culture has forgotten, but we have that memory, and that memory it's in our bones, it's in our DNA. And to see everyone come together like this, you know, I see so many cedar hats in the room, and I love that. Just wearing their regalia, you know, wearing your ancestors on the outside because you carry them with you at all times on the inside. Like, that's powerful. I kind of got here quite late, and as soon as I get in the door, there's like singing, you know, and that's powerful. Indigenous women singing together, raising their fists in the air, like, that's just so powerful. It's medicine. What we're doing here, it's medicine. So, I don't know, I have no concept of time or how long I've been talking here, but yeah, I want to thank these spaces. I want to thank my elders. I want to thank the members of my community that taught me that being Indigenous is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's a powerful thing. It's not something that you need to be ashamed of or run from. You know, because that's the conditioning that we receive. It's so suppressed. This expression of being Indigenous and the fact that it's something that we're all able to come together and celebrate after everything that we've been through. It's just, I raise my hands to every single one of you. I'm gonna share a song with you guys. This is called Amazing Grace. Sorry, it's Amazing Grace translated into the Sliaman language. And I learned this song when I was like 4 or 5. I was watching TV, and there was a Native man on TV, and he was singing Amazing Grace in his language. And I went up to my Kukpa and Chichi, my grandparents, and I was like, I want to learn Amazing Grace in Sliaman. Would you translate it into Sliaman? And they did. And that's what got me. That's what got me passionate about music, and music's just been a huge gift in my life, and culture set me on that path. And anyways, this is Duwamish Klaklas. Duwamish Klaklas imod gayanans quathoch des kaimuch nanchena uach quagwenam thoch double thoch equaquenomin ho stamskum lekau mod hutham sau human hey some lakalies closed sheo hey some lakalies hostam she oh, as might chenche chaman glasam might husam hosumasam teklekau modnes quakad nam tomzod tlaiyanoth Duwamish Klaklas imod gayanans quathoch des kaimuch nanchena uach quagwenam thoch double thoch equaquenomin. Thank you. So, just gonna share something that my kukpa and chicha, grandparents, shared with me when I first was interested in getting involved with when I was first interested in starting to do like land defense work. And they told me that if you have a passion and if you have a gift, then that's something that, you know, it's not a coincidence. It's an intentional thing that Creator gave to you, and it's your responsibility to share that in a good way, in a way that uplifts your community, and that we all have a voice, and it's our responsibility as Indigenous people, as caretakers and stewards, to use that voice to speak for those who have none, and to speak for our sacred sites, to speak for the waters that sustain us, for the lands that we've lived on for thousands and thousands of years since time immemorial, for the rivers and the watersheds that are our lifeblood, for the future generations that unfold before us that have no voice and deserve access to clean drinking water, deserve access to culture and territories, and for all peoples, even those who haven't woken up to the reality, fighting for their children, fighting for their right to exist on this earth. So we all have that responsibility. So Let's work together. I'm so proud to see us all working together.
Wopila, Wopila, thank you very much to our guest speaker today. I mean, we'd like to call her back up here, Miss Blaney, if you'd like to come back up so we can honor you with this blanket. And this blanket comes from a local business, 8th generation, from Pike Place Market in Louis Gong. It is a native-owned business, and we're honored to honor you with this blanket today for your contributions to our community. Thank you very much. Wopila, Wopila Tonka Bluhayelo. At this time, I'd like to welcome Council Member Deborah Juarez to read the proclamation. A round of applause for Deborah Juarez, please. Thank you.
I apologize. I was up at Northgate. We are announcing that Northgate will be completely remodeled to be a ice skating and for the NHL to come, which is going to be phenomenal, in conjunction with the Seattle Arena. So that's where I was. I have two people on the stage with me who I want to honor, who are standing next to me, who work hard, and I'm going to ask them to help me out here today. Can you hear me? Doesn't sound like I can hear. Okay. I have Pamela Stearns here with me, and I have Nicole Willis. And I just want to say this about, there's a lot of my Native sisters, Minty. I got today from my Auntie Laverne Wise. Laverne, where are you? There's Laverne. Gave me my Devil's Club for Protection. Thank you, Alani. My Devil's Club for Protection today. And this is what I love about, I miss being in Indian country and I miss being around Indian folks. I'll let that go. I'm going to let my sister Pamela read the proclamation because I have a platform and I talk all the time and I get sick of hearing myself talk. I just want to say a few words about what we're here and what this means for us today and every day, those of us that are Native. And this isn't new. I think some people think that the legacy of colonization and this whole concept of decolonizing just started, that it's just some kind of movement that people thought of 2 or 3 years ago. It's a history of loss. It's a history, as I learned last night listening to David Truer, who just wrote The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, that it's also a history of plenty. Decolonization, the way I understand it and have my whole life, is about telling the truth. And the truth can be painful. It can be violent, but it's transformational. And it's powerful, and it's healing, and it's what we need. Not just in this city, but across the nation. It's the decolonization and telling the truth is where we right historical wrongs. Decolonization is about reclaiming, taking back spaces, and it is more than just a fad or a movement. I want to tell you that decolonization and telling the truth, when I talk about reclaiming space and making room for other voices, that space includes not only the physical places, not only the land, not only the water, not only what we protect, but our history. The lies sometimes we tell each other and we tell ourselves, and maybe how the world tells us. It's also about our culture. I grew up on the Puyallup Perez, and I'll tell you right now, nobody wore cedar hats up until about 15 years ago. That was a reclaiming. Bringing back the canoe journey. Grew up with, I'm a Plains Indian, I'm Blackfeet, but I grew up with my coastal brothers and sisters, and now they have the canoe. It's about language. I was lucky enough to be a member of the Blackfeet tribe where we have 3 immersion schools, and Blackfeet is still spoken fluently. And it also is about architecture, and it's about being honest, and it's about being kind and loving to one another. And the healing words, when I listen to Abigail Elkohawk, when I listen to Esther Lozaro at the Seattle Indian Health Board, Mike Tooley at United Indians, my sisters up here, a lot of us, Claudia Kaufman, my Nez Perce sister, who I grew up here. It's about just being kind to each other and knowing that as Native people, when I was growing up, Indian country was like the reservation. And then it got expanded to be like the ceded lands. And then it got expanded to be bigger, where and my Yakima sister, I don't see where my Yakima sister is. I think she was drumming, which I tease the Yakimas all the time because they believe their fishing rights are still in Commencement Bay, and the Puyallups have something to say about that. I've been an attorney for 32 years. I've represented just about every tribe in this state and many tribes across this country. And I didn't just build casinos and hotels and golf courses. I built hospitals, I built jails, I built youth centers, I built treatment centers, I built grocery stores and gas stations. And one thing I know about our people is when we talk about trauma, what I really want to stress to our people, particularly those of you who are non-Native, who are our allies, is the other side of trauma is resiliency. We are still fucking here. So, in the words of my Uncle Billy Frank, in the words of people who raised me, my foster mom, Ramona Bennett, when Native people make change, we do it in a good way, and it comes from a good place. And we know that change is incremental. We know we don't just show up and say, I want it now. We never had that luxury. Everything we have given up something for, we have died for, we have lost things for. And we're at a time, at a tipping point, I believe, when I see all these beautiful Native folks and the lovely young lady who we just saw speak. And I have 2 daughters who are enrolled at Blackfeet. It just gives me so much hope that when I'm long gone, somebody will stand here and be the governor or the mayor or the senator that's Native. And you people have brought me here today. I could not have been who I am without Indian people, Indian country, and more importantly, people like Laverne Wise and Indian aunties who grabbed me by the back of my collar and reminded me, I don't care how many degrees you have, this is how we do things. So with that, I'm gonna invite my sisters. Go ahead. Ms. Pamela Stearns, my coastal sister, is gonna read the proclamation that the mayor did that the Seattle City Council will be passed this afternoon that we already signed. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilmember Juarez. City of Seattle Proclamation. Whereas the City of Seattle recognizes that the indigenous peoples of the lands that would later become known as the Americas have occupied these lands since time immemorial. And whereas the city recognizes that the Seattle is built upon the homelands and villages of the indigenous people of this region, without whom the building of the city would not have been possible. And whereas the city values that many contributions made to our community through indigenous people's knowledge, labor, technology, science, philosophy, arts, and the deep cultural contributions that have substantially shaped the character of the city of Seattle. And whereas the City of Seattle firmly commits to continue its efforts to promote the well-being and growth of Seattle's indigenous communities, and whereas the City of Seattle firmly commits to continue its efforts to promote the well-being and growth of Seattle's indigenous communities, and whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, and whereas the City of Seattle encourages all businesses, organizations, public institutions, and the city residents to recognize this day and to honor the legacy and the contributions of Seattle's American Indian and Indigenous communities. Now, therefore, the Mayor of Seattle and the Seattle City Council do hereby proclaim October 8th, 2018 as Indigenous Peoples Day.
I know Marta's going to kill me, but I just want you to hear just what's going on politically with the midterms really quick from Nicole Willis. Go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you, Councilmember Juarez. So for those of you who aren't following, around the country we currently have over 50 Native candidates running for statewide and higher office around the country. And most of them are women. So we're privileged enough to live in a city where we have a Native American councilwoman, but most people don't get to benefit from that perspective. So around the country, I encourage you to please support all of these Native candidates who are running for office. It is very likely that on November 7th, we will wake up and we will have 2 Native American women in Congress for the first time ever. And we have one of our relatives who's running for governor of Idaho. So I encourage you all to please, in your support of Indigenous causes, pay attention to these Native candidates and to support our Native candidates and those who also currently hold office. So, thank you.
Wopila, thank you once again to Councilwoman Deborah Juarez, to Nicole Willis, and to Pamela Dalton for sharing some words. You can go ahead and clap. It's good. Thank you. They deserve it. They deserve it. Please keep an eye on those races with our women Indigenous leaders. At this time, we are going to get to the song and dance segment as we get ready to honor these traditions. Setting up the drum group right now is Southern Express. This is Junior Stanley, who is from Navajo and Shawnee heritage. Deo Escobar, who is Mohawk and Mexican, and Dancing Coin, who is Hopi, and Thompson Salish. And they get ready to honor us with an honor song. Take it away, boys. Hey. Southern Express blew them away. Oh, all right. Yeah. So to accompany our song now, we're going to bring out a couple of dancers. I'd like to welcome Nito Old Chief and baby Clarissa Morning Gun of Blackfeet, Yakama and Squamish from BC descent. Come to share a dance with you. Southern Express, please take it away once more. Wopila to Powwow Squad, to Nito Old Chief and baby Clarissa Morning Gun. One more round of applause for their dance. Thank you. Another round of applause for Southern Express. Oh, Wopila for the Holowans, brothers. Thank you for your songs. At this time, I'd like to call up these gentlemen traveled all the way from Browning, Montana to be here today and help us celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day in the city of Seattle. I'd like to welcome the Crazy Dog Society from Piikani Nation. Woo!
Okay, Napi. Okay, Nistuts and Nistaki. My mother is Florence Flossie Running Wolf from Heart Butte. comes from the leader of the Mountain Chief people. My father is Philip Radler Madplum from Medicine. Comes from the Chewing Blackbone people. Nestus and this is King. Oh, God. I was raised by my grandmother, Sundance leader, Mary Littlebow. And so we come here to help support across Indian country, not only here, but throughout the United States and Canada, Mexico, our native brothers down there, for all the different standings they have for Indigenous people of this world. When we're set down on this world, we're given the same thing in the four directions of this world and how to represent ourselves within the spiritual world itself. And so it's a good thing that happens here. Each one of our places we come from, we slowly be able to stand up and take part in what is indigenously right for our people who are from this land. Right now, I want to introduce my brother, or let him introduce himself.
Okay, next up, Anong cook magquiz papstatus. Kino naaksik sa matiyok kaya kinenak sa pito honesta. Kino natu sa paskanik sa spumu kingkag. Miyoka na pinatu sa skapi pikani kistakyaw stan. Kistakyaw stan mopustan kistaki mopustan. So what Leon didn't tell you is that he's a leader, very strong leader. He also recently just took a transfer, which is taking care of a beaver bundle. In that sense, all of you people become his children. Hey, ask him for all the money he has. Hey. No, but it's very serious, eh? And he does, so he sits in the position of natuitibix, as we would say, those ones that are sitting holy, they're sitting kimoks. Eh? And so when we take a look at what has happened here today, when we heard about this, it was up to us to take and go ahead and come and support the indigenous people of this land, to take and help them with their walk and their fight. You know, we've been coming up here quite a bit. When Mr. Williams was shot by the police, you know, I helped carve the face on the raven that sits up here at that park now. You know, I helped carry that totem. We've taken care of a lot of our brothers and sisters that are from over here. We've taken care of our brothers and sisters, no DAPO, when they were standing against the government and the pipeline down there in Dakotas. And we stand there and we continue to fight, And as we all sing the AIM song, Eh? It's still going on. American Indian movement is still going on. You know, and we have rights. We have indigenous rights to these lands. And so be proud of who you are. Be proud of how you stand. Walk strong. Kita stanatops is what they would say, Be powerful in your stance. And don't take no for an answer. You know? We have people that are getting into politics and different things like that that are making a difference. So when you hear about them, support them, because their fight is your fight. So with that, we're going to go ahead and sing this song. This song is called Walking Holy. And, you know, in Picani country, the weather's not like this, huh? Kind of dry. You know, but out here, it's a little bit rainy. And so, as well as you guys all know, it takes its toll on your drums, eh? Huh? But before we had drums too, we had sticks, right? And so we're going to go ahead and sing Walking Holy with that. Before I do, because it is a very powerful song, I'll go ahead and pray for each and every one of us, huh? So that we have long life. That's sumuik. King ma tokinan. Okay, ningna tuit. Ayo na pinatus is tapat pe paktus pumuking kag. Mioka na pinatus is pumsta. Okpokak is pumuking kag. Napi natus. Okay, kipatak. Okay, siksakak, sakuyaki. Manakapi pay nagspumuking kag. Asumuik an yokana na pinatus. Nagspumo sa kanaksimite, sis kanaksmoto, kik sistakis kato, iknanaskas, okkan, ikspumuking kag. Miokan kak, inispumoking kag, napinatus, nispumo sa nimok stakes, amskap stakes, niapok stakes, apatok stakes, nispumuking kag. Haksi pisuatsas, nispumuking kag, isistuats mga napiot sa kamotan. when you people are out there walking, trying your best, remember the women, those ones that have been abducted, those ones that are lost, those ones that are struggling to get home. Remember them. That's what this song is all about. It's about those ones that have been taken from us. Misty Upham, you guys all know Misty. She's from up in here, but she was my cousin. And that's why I made this song for her. Because she was one of them, and her murder has still never been proven yet. They've still never found the killer. And so we have a lot that's like that. So remember them. Continue your walk. Continue your walk for your babies, your pokaks, the little ones, and keep them safe. No drugs, no alcohol. We don't need it. Ken? Ken?
Do a closing song. Do a closing song. Do a closing song. In our closing, Nastuat sa papipikani. Kanat sumata. Was part of Alcatraz. Part of Frank's Landing. Part of the Puyallup takeover. Part of Wounded Knee. Part of the stand-up. Occupation in Canada. Part of the Badger to Medicine protection. Started in 1982, but just turned over and given back to the tribe this year. How long some of these fights are. Just because it's a weekend and it's over with doesn't mean that you stop. Your heart continues to pound. The blood continues to flow with the heritage that's given to you by your mother and your father, by your grandmother and your grandfather. Our walk always continues to go no matter where we are, no matter what we are doing. Remember that it's not up here, the mind, that makes you strong. It's this heart. The unconditional love and trust that you have for yourself and your people and what you stand for is what's most important. I call this one up here the bloomin' idiot because it has that, what they would call long nose that anybody can grab and turn it in any direction and everybody will follow and copy. But it's the heart that will tell you the truth every time. So be strong in your what, and remember all those ones who died so they might have the opportunity that you have today to be able to walk inside this hall and be able to sing your song. Because a lot of people gave and sacrificed so that opportunity could be here. Remember them in your prayers. This is one of our closing songs. We have many, many songs because we're people from the Sundance, we're people from the Yukon, we're people from our warrior societies. We just want to try our best to present our people, where we come from, to each and every one of you, to share our heart and our love with you.
This is a Holy Angel song. It was an honor walking with all you people today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you to Crazy Dog Society that came in all the way from Browning, Montana. Thank you for making the trek. We're almost done with the program, folks. Please bear with us. We got a couple more groups for singing before we close out. At this time, I would like to welcome our relatives from the Tlingit and Haida Nation, Handai Ijin. Round of applause, please.
Hawa, Gunas Chish, Saduts di Chinu Ejan, De Kwa di Nanu Ejan, Sabaja, Hinu di Kiang, Katsakas Gustu di Kwalagan. My grandfather's name is Saduts, and my grandmother's name is De Kwa. My name is Sabaja, and I'm from the Eagle Moiety. My English name is Brandon, and we are Hande Ijin, which roughly translates to, come take my hand. My own interpretation of this is come take my hand and join us in remembering who we are. We are mainly a Tlingit dance group. We sing Tlingit songs, but we are multicultural. We consist of many tribes, including Tlingit and Haida and Tsimshian. That first song that we did was our Copper River song. It's our Entering the House song. It's also good to warm up the larynx. The next song that we'll be doing is Suheide Shugakutan. This song was composed by Harold Jacobs and gifted to the Sealaska Heritage Institute for celebration in 1994. It is based off the words of George Davis of the Deshitan from Angoon when he spoke in the 1980s at the Sealaska Elders Conference in Sitka. We don't want what you did here to only echo in the air, how our grandfathers used to do things. Yes, you have unwrapped it for us. That is why we will open again this container of wisdom left in our care. We feature our children in this song who are unwrapping a box of wisdom, who will carry on our culture. The significance of this song is not too long ago, we were unable to sing our songs, do our dances. So our elders tucked away the culture in boxes so that the future generations may find these boxes, open them up, and restore their culture and remember who they are. Without further ado, Suheide Shugakutan. Hande Ijen. Suheide Shugakutana. Suheide Shugakutana. Yayakusuke Daket Hajiganak Pasquadaki. Ganesh Chish. Before I go on to our next song, I'd just like to explain a little bit about ourselves. We mean no disrespect when we turn our backs to you at the end of our songs. What we're trying to do is show you who we are. On some of our regalia, on the front or the back, you will see where we come from, which house we dance for. Just thought I'd let that out there. The next song that we will be doing is our Killer Whale song. At this time, I'd like to dedicate it to our sea life because the condition of our ocean is a direct reflection of how it is on our land. And so I would just like to bring some thought to that, food for thought. Just think about the ocean. What we're putting into it is also what we're getting out of it. Hande Ijin. Where Yaha. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our little program here. I just want to thank you all very much for being here, for witnessing us. It's very important to our culture and let people know that we are still here. We do know who we are, and we're out here spreading it. At this time, I'd just like to take some time and thank a couple people. I'd like to thank the City of Seattle. I'd also like to recognize the Duwamish, as well as I'd like to thank the sponsors that fund this lovely event. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be going on into our exit, Yela. And again, my uncle taught me not too long ago that you can never say thank you enough. So again, I raise my hands and my drum, and I thank you so much for being here. And it's a good day to be Indigenous. Iela, 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 hey, hey, ah, ah, way, hey, ah, ah, way, hey, Iela, 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 hey, hey, ah, ah, way, hey, ah, ah, way, hey, Iela, 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 hey, ah, ah, way, hey, ah, ah, way, hey, dark way, cook day, hey, 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 dark way.
Wopila, wopila, wopila to handa ijin gunushish. We're almost done with our program, ladies and gentlemen. Got a couple more songs for you. Just want to say thank you for everybody for continuing to be here, for showing support. There are over 70 cities and 4 states that recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. Seattle was one of the first. Just want to give acknowledgement for that. Thank you to the City of Seattle. And at this time, I would like to welcome one of our last groups. This group is called Knock. And they're almost ready, I promise. Just a second. Is it? What's the difference between a non-native ghost and a native ghost? Non-native ghost says boo. Native ghost says boo. Hey. Hey. Just kidding. Tell your grandma that one. Hey. Ready? Okay, we're going to try again. If we're ready to go, knock. Please make your way to the stage. I'm out of jokes. I think it's important also to note that there are 16 cities that adopted it this year, adopted Indigenous Peoples Day. So the fight continues to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day over the other. So if you are from another town, from another territory, obviously if you're here you might not be, but encourage those folks to also adopt Indigenous Peoples Day over the other. The other is not a holiday at all. It's not a day of remembrance. It's not anything to be honored. It's something that we should obviously do away with. But there are 16 cities that did it this year, so the fight continues. Hopefully next year we'll see even more. Like I said, 70 cities, 4 states. And there are some states who have a different name that this falls under or have just abolished Columbus Day, period. So honors to them. Knock. Here we go.
Anyakusani, Fatima Yuhat Duasak, Chak Nak Hatati, Dakloedi Ayahat, Kanakamali, Yadi Hatati, Glake Ka Dachan Ayahat, Kutsnu Kwanda Ayahat, Hit Ayahana Kahiti, Everett, Yehat Yati, Bellevue, Yehat Kuzati. Precious people of the land, precious people of the land. My name is Fatima. I'm of the Eagle Moiety. I am of the Killall clan. My father is Hawaiian. My grandfather is white. My village is Angoon from the Killall house. I live in Everett. I was born in Bellevue. We are the Knock Dancers. We are from many different nations. Our group leader is my uncle Nahan. The first song that we sing is called The Dream Song, composed by Eva Rowan, who is from Kloak, Alaska. She is the Suknoidi clan. She gave the song to Nahan several years ago. The second song that we sang is known as Killall Current. It is composed by my uncle Nahan. When we turn our backs, it shows our crust, our outer crust. And when we sing loud, dance hard, and drum proudly, it is showing that we care, and that to us, it's really powerful. Gonna sheesh. It's the exit song. The next is going to be our Chilkat exit song.
Wopila, thank you, Nak, for coming out and sharing your heritage with us and your dances and songs. One more round of applause for Nak, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we're getting ready to close out, and I'd like to bring up one of the supporters who helped organize the passing of the proclamation for Indigenous Peoples Day today, Matt Remley.
Don't be going nowhere, Wesley. You're part of this too. Mitakiapi, just Washtelo. Where's that Lakota out there? Oh, okay. That's beautiful. Love hearing the language. But you know, Tukashila wakantaka petukile wawashte yuha lena makoche ki awawichaki ayo Duwamish oyate na makoche ki awawichaki ayo mini wichoni okiayo na wichasha na wia na takoja wakaiheja ki awawichaki ayo na wichasha opila tanka tukashila. Well, good afternoon. I'm just expressing thanks and acknowledgement to the Duwamish peoples for allowing us to be here on their lands. And I was just had a thought as we're standing here that it would be beautiful that when we come to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, if this was returned back to the Duwamish peoples, and we're in the Duwamish Longhouse, following their protocols someday, and giving acknowledgement and to their water out here that we have the opportunity to live by. And we should do whatever we can to support their efforts in cleaning up those waterways. That Duwamish River that's named after them, that's one of the most polluted sites in all the country, and it's just right here. And so it's good to celebrate and continue to celebrate and bring out our songs and languages, but it's also good to always acknowledge whom's land we're on and follow their traditions and protocols. I'd like to thank Jennifer, AIYANA, Martha, Shannon. Let's give acknowledgement to all the coordinators and organizers. You can sit down. This ain't a prayer. You can sit down now. Let's give it up though for the organizers for today. From the march all the way out here to all the performing. We ain't even done yet because we still got an evening cap out at Daybreak Star with Simon, more performances out there. So we go strong out here in the Northwest, and you know, things we do, you know, really reverberate to other communities. I had the opportunity just a minute ago sharing with Jennifer, reflecting upon the work that has gone into the establishment of these days, not just of the past few years, not even of the past couple decades, but many decades of peoples who have been hitting those streets way before social media days to try to raise awareness of why we should abolish Columbus Day. I was remembering myself back in the 90s, for folks who remember that Columbus statue that used to be down at the waterfront. A number of us would go down there and do something down there every year on Columbus Day, and that statue's not there anymore. So I guess we were successful. And some folks might even have been here back in, I think it was 2000, 2001, when the city brought replicas of Columbus's ship to the city. And we found what that route was going to be, and it was going through the Fremont Bridge, so we decided to do a little direct action and stop that bridge from opening. And then, of course, the Old Growth Alliance in the later 2000s to past decade. You know, so there's a lot of energy and effort that's gone on, a lot of stuff that's also goes on behind the scenes that don't really make public awareness to bringing about days like this. Look forward to supporting Pamela down here on her work with the King County. You know, because what we're doing is really just grassroots. People say, hey, it's a federal holiday, so you're not really abolishing it. Well, we're smart. We know it's a federal holiday, but this is what this is called, is grassroots organizing, working on the local level to make a tidal wave to wave across the country to hopefully one day it will be abolished on the federal level. In 2013, it was just Berkeley and the state of South Dakota that had any kind of day in opposition to Columbus Day. Today, there's over 80, several states, cities. So we really started something in Seattle, an energy that, and one of the most beautiful things is working with other communities to bring about days like this. For me personally, and then I'll put the mic down, we'll just close with the song. Over the summer, I had opportunity to work with some Native youth out at Carkeek Park, and they had asked to share how do you write a resolution and that whole process, and we were talking about Indigenous Peoples Day, and there was a sixth grader here in Seattle, and he said, "What's this Columbus Day? Our schools don't do Columbus Day, we just do Indigenous Peoples Day." And man, that made my heart feel so good because we got our youth who are growing up who don't even know what Columbus Day is. So thank you again, organizers, coordinators. We'll see you all tonight. We're just gonna wrap up with a giving thanks song. So, you know, bring all you in and send you out in a good way.
Chana
give it up for Wesley here in MCing today.
Oh, Wopila, Wopila. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you for showing your support for what has been a wonderful day and a wonderful celebration. Thank you all. I hope you drive home safe, find your way home safe. Don't forget, Daybreak Star, tonight, 4 p.m., the doors open, 5 to 7 p.m. They will be serving dinner. That is bus line 33. Get your butts out there, get in the seats, eat some salmon, eat some buffalo. Don't hesitate. The community doors are open. Please show up. We'll be there. Thank you for coming and drive home safe. Wopila, Wopila, oh.